Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Michelle here from happyhealthyher.com. And this week's compassionate chat is back to a topic that I really don't want to talk about, but it is such a strong presence in my world that I feel like I have to talk about narcissism. Side note, I want to give credit to Richard Grannon. He is the person who brought this element into my awareness, and I have watched a lot of videos on the topic of narcissism, and he is someone who is very solid input on the topic. Another caveat to this topic is that it is incredibly difficult to detect narcissists and manipulative behavior early on. Every expert who speaks about this topic notes that even they get manipulated after knowing many of the signs. I will likely be doing another video on the topic of how impossible it can be to detect narcissistic and manipulative behavior, especially if you are a sensitive person or an empath. And there's very strong, good reasons for all of that. So in the last video, I talked to you about doing a life review. And that was in terms of your accomplishments. That was a means to support you in seeing how capable you are and how much hope you have for advancing your life. I have also done a life review in terms of the narcissistic people I've had in my life. And shockingly, I have had at least 35 narcissistic connections over the course of my life. And that's probably being conservative. So that's talking about teachers, coaches, friends, family members, my romantic partners, my husband, in-laws, and even recently new friends. So this is just like an ongoing situation for me. I do want that to be really clear that my experience on this comes from actual, really hands-on, practical experience with having lived through these types of people. And many people who are empathetic or sensitive have a similar story because manipulators tend to thrive off of people like us. What I finally realized is the most common element in all of those narcissistic or manipulative relationships that I have experienced is that the person got me to do things for them. And sometimes we're talking little things like responding to their texts quickly or supporting them when they were having a hard time and always being an ear when they needed to vent. And other times it's bigger things like free cat sitting for a week or, just doing other things for them, helping them clean up their yard, whatever. Now, I do things for others because it feels good. Like many people, I'm sure you might feel this way too. I like to be of service. That feels good to me. But there's always a point where I've had to suddenly realize with certain connections and certain people that my kindness is being taken advantage of, that they're asking me for a lot and not providing me with anything, whether it even be like gratitude or any type of reciprocity. And the greatest irony in these cases is that the person asking for the help always has way more resources than I do. So we're talking more money, more friends, more family members who can assist them, more skills sometimes, better health, and still they manage to get me to do their dirty work for them. And so what do I mean by dirty work? Really, anything that they don't want to do. Anything that is particularly hard and that they're just trying to offload onto someone else. And the saddest piece is that oftentimes manipulators don't even actually genuinely need the help. Or the thing in question that they want to have done isn't necessary. They are just asking for it to assert their power and exhibit control. That power dynamic is also at the heart of every narcissistic relationship. So, as an example, you see this dynamic inherent in the sort of the damsel in distress or the victim mentality. So this is like women who are like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. I don't know how, or it's too hard. And I bring that up not to shame women at all, because the majority of women I know are not like that at all. In fact, I was raised by a fierce mom who taught my sister and I that girls could do anything boys can do. And we proved that to be true. I was this skinny, lanky kid, but I did all of the family chores with the rest of my family members. So I mowed the lawn. I waxed the boats. We lived on a pond. We had boats. So I waxed the boats. I helped my dad put the docks in. So did my sister and my mom. And then there was always the more female traditional activities. I did the cooking. I helped with the cooking. I helped with the cleaning. I helped with the dishes, all that stuff. I learned how to do everything, and I did everything. So I am only bringing that up to make the point that all humans have the capacity to learn and do new things. The victim stance is not a true reality for many cases. Yet that victim mentality of not being competent or capable is a framework that many narcissistic people use, both men and women, to manipulate other people. And sadly, the most convincing and tricky narcissists in my experience have actually been women. Because I have this expectation that women are going to want to support and help other women. And unfortunately, many times, that hasn't proven to be true. So, what does it actually look like when someone gets other people to do things for them? So, I had this example for a particular person in my life. This person had the most loving and adoring partner. And they would ask that person to do all sorts of menial tasks that they could easily do themselves. And so it was so frustrating to watch them as an outsider because it was clearly manipulative and abusive. So let's say I was over and had dinner with this couple. The man often would clear the plates, do the dishes, clean everything up. And then myself and the women, we'd go into the living room and start to hang out. And inevitably, the man would come in and the woman would say, "Can you get me a glass of water?" And of course, he would just like run off to get the glass of water. And I'd be sitting there thinking, why don't you just get the water yourself? Like, it was so strange to me that someone would talk to another person like that. And then inevitably, while the man is in the other room, they'd say, "Well, can you make us a snack?" And then they'd kind of look at me almost like, look at how powerful I am. I can get him to do anything. And so it was so weird to me. It was so kind of even gross to me watching this. And so I remember vowing I was never going to be that kind of woman. And so, of course, I ended up in a marriage that was the reverse scenario. I never asked my husband for really anything. And I bent over backwards to do everything to be a good wife and maintain our house. And my husband just sat back and manipulated my kindness to allow me to do everything, really. All while telling me I never did anything, which is sort of the standard narcissistic hypocrisy or invalidation. So it's wild to me to now look back and see this. So just one example in my marriage that I think will be very relatable to some people is that I did 99% of the grocery shopping. My ex would go to the grocery store literally maybe once a year, And most of the time that was because I was sick, or maybe we were having a party and I'd say, hey, can you just pick up this or that? But otherwise, he pretty much refused to go grocery shopping. I mean, he hated it. Well, guess what? I hated it too. But he would also do what is known as practiced willful ignorance, where he'd go to the store and he'd buy the wrong things. Now, this was a very smart man, and this is a very common practice, by the way. I hear other women talking about this all the time, where men act as though I just can't do all these things. And the reality is anyone can follow a grocery list. Anyone can do that. But they just don't want to. And so they plead ignorance so that their partner will step up and do it. So I have seen this happen, of course, in other scenarios. Like in a work environment where I've had coworkers where they just pretend they just can't do something. And it's wild because they will actively refuse to do the thing because they can't. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. I won't do it. Now, the irony for me, again, is that I have used the internet to teach me literally the majority of what I know in my career. So I became a dietitian in 1997, before the internet was really like a thing. So when I got into the work world, I discovered the internet at like my second job, and I actually fell in love with it, and I left my dietetics sort of background. I left the nutrition world to work in communications, and I taught myself everything. I taught myself marketing, search engine optimization, design, social media when social media came on the scene. So I'm the kind of person who like really knows firsthand that people can learn, and through the power of the internet, you can literally learn anything these days with a quick Google search and watch a video, do a couple exercises, and suddenly you can be on track to start doing that thing. So when someone acts as though they absolutely can't learn something, they act like they're totally incompetent, many times that's an act. And we need to own that and realize that that shouldn't be allowed, because they're very likely using us to do the work for them, and manipulate us in other ways. So this is definitely a bit of a depressing topic. And I really want to do a lot of more positive work into the world, but I felt like I needed to talk about this. I felt very called to talk about this because this is something that has really become such a painful thing in my world, and I don't want it to happen with other people. I want other people to be able to recognize it and protect themselves. It's super painful to have to realize that we've been duped or manipulated by another person. But this awareness piece is really powerful. And it is how we slowly shift our experience so that we only allow people who have a similar desire to learn and grow and not take from others. And I promise you, there are a lot of people who are like that. There are a lot of people who are wanting to learn and grow and be better, who are self-aware and realizing that they can always better themselves. And if they don't know how to do something, that they can learn it. Someone who's narcissistic actually doesn't have that self-awareness, and they really don't have a desire to grow. Why would they when they can just get everyone else to do things for them? So I also want to stress another caveat here. I have chronic illness. It's mostly in remission, but I know a lot of other people who also have chronic conditions. And when someone is genuinely ill or fatigued and they really need help, that is, of course, not narcissistic or manipulative. It's not someone playing a victim. They really do have difficult circumstances that are not necessarily within their control. So this is a topic that needs a little bit of discernment to determine if someone is, in fact, in genuine need of help. A good number of the people you're going to encounter are in genuine need of help. So it is really important to sort of trust your gut and kind of honor your heart. If someone is calling to you to, like, I just need to help this person, sometimes that's the best approach. I don't want any of us to lose our compassion. I just want you to be able to recognize when others are taking advantage of you or playing on your kindness. Because, like I said, the people who tend to do this, the people who tend to be manipulative, almost always actually have more than you. They're not victims. They have more energy. They have more time. They have more health. They have more power. They just really love to take advantage and utilize other people on their behalf. So I really hope this was helpful. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in more compassionate chats, please go ahead and subscribe. And if this resonates and you want to share it with friends, please do that as well. My whole point is to help other people to protect themselves and not get into these situations where they're being harmed. None of us can shine our light if we are being dimmed by narcissistic people. So that is my goal, to help people shine their light in a positive and loving way. So as always, I wish you happiness and good health, and I thank you for being with me.